When you hear the word Hellcat, your mind probably goes straight to the Dodge Challenger or Charger, the loud, supercharged beasts that shook up the muscle car world with raw power and zero apologies. But here's the thing. Long before Dodge dropped a 700 horsepower V8 into a street car, there was another Hellcat roaming the streets. But it didn't come from Detroit. It came from Germany. It had 4 doors. It had leather seats. It had a Mercedes badge sitting proudly on the front grille. And yet, under the hood, it was packing enough firepower to embarrass Ferraris, Porsches, and pretty much anything else brave enough to line up next to it. This is the story of the Mercedes E55 AMG W211, a luxury sedan on the outside, and a supercharged monster on the inside. Some call it the German Hellcat. Others simply call it one of the greatest AMGs ever built. But one thing's for sure, it was way ahead of its time. To really understand the E55 AMG, you have to go back to the early 2000s, a golden era for Mercedes AMG. This wasn't the AMG we know today with turbocharged 4 cylinders and hybrid assistance. This was AMG at full power, unfiltered, unapologetic. The philosophy was simple. Take a solid Mercedes platform, drop a giant engine into it, and let the engineers figure out the rest. The W211 E-Class was chosen as the perfect base. It was classy, elegant, businesslike, the kind of car your accountant might drive to work. But AMG had something else in mind. Instead of going the safe route with a high-revving, naturally aspirated engine, they chose force induction, but not turbochargers. No, AMG went old school, a Roots-type supercharger. Big, loud, and brutally effective. Why? Because a supercharger gives you instant power. No waiting, no lag. Just raw, immediate torque the second you touch the pedal. And so the E55 AMG was born, a machine that looked like a mild-mannered executive sedan, but underneath was more muscle car than Mercedes. At the core of this German muscle car was the legendary M113K engine, a 5.4-liter V8 paired with a massive Roots-style supercharger. The result? 476 horsepower and over 700 newton-meters of torque, in a time when most sports cars were struggling to hit those numbers. But here's what made it truly special. The power wasn't just big, it was usable everywhere. Thanks to the supercharger, the torque was available right off idle. No waiting for boost to build, no complicated turbo maps, just instant, brutal acceleration, anytime, anywhere. Put your foot down at 2,000 RPM, the car launches like a rocket. Floor it on the highway at 120 kilometers per hour, the power hits you like a freight train. And then there was the sound. Forget the high-pitched scream of a turbo. Forget the soft whine of a modern hybridized drivetrain. The M113K growled. It rumbled. And as the supercharger spooled up, it gave off that signature angry whine. A sound that every AMG fan instantly recognizes. But here's the best part. For all its power, for all its brutality, the M113K was reliable. Not just reliable for a performance engine, reliable, period. This wasn't some fragile, overcomplicated biturbo setup that needed babying. This was old-school German engineering at its finest. Well-maintained M113Ks are known to run well past 200,000 miles without major engine issues. The bottom end? Solid. The supercharger? Rock steady. The internals? Built to handle way more power than the stock setup ever asked of them. And that's why so many E55 owners will tell you the same thing. It's not the motor you have to worry about, because unlike many modern performance cars, the heart of this beast was never the problem. It was, and still is, one of the most respected V8s AMG has ever produced. On paper, the E55 AMG looked like just another luxury sedan. Big, comfortable, smooth, but out on the road, it was a completely different story. Thanks to that supercharged V8, the E55 could launch from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just about 4.5 seconds. For a full-size sedan weighing over 4,000 pounds, that was absolutely insane back in the early 2000s. To put that into perspective, it was faster than the Porsche 911 Carrera of the same era, faster than many Ferraris from the 90s. And it did it all without shouting about it. There were no giant wings, no flashy stripes. The E55 was the definition of a sleeper. It looked like a lawyer's daily driver, but it hit like a heavyweight boxer. And the power wasn't just there off the line. Thanks to that massive torque curve over 700 newton meters or around 516 pound-feet, the E55 could pull hard at any speed. Highway overtakes? Effortless. Passing slower cars? Blink, and you're already gone. But here's the real kicker. This car wasn't just fast for its time. Even by today's standards, the E55 AMG is still quick enough to embarrass modern sports cars. And if that wasn't enough, the aftermarket stepped in to make things even wilder. With just a simple pulley upgrade and a tune, many E55s easily push over 600 horsepower. Some builds take it even further, 700, 800, sometimes even 1,000 horsepower, while still keeping the original motor intact. Because the M113K wasn't just built strong, it was built with headroom. AMG didn't just slap a supercharger on this engine and hope for the best. They overbuilt it on purpose. And that's why, to this day, the E55 remains a favorite, not just among AMG fans, but among drag racers, tuners, and anyone who respects serious performance under the radar. Let's be honest, high horsepower cars are often known for being fragile. The more complicated the setup, the more things can go wrong. But that's where the E55 AMG stands apart. The M113K isn't just powerful, it's one of the most reliable performance engines ever built by AMG. While modern AMG V8s are packed with twin turbos, direct injection, and layers of complex electronics, the E55's supercharged V8 keeps things simple and mechanical. No turbos to fail, no high-pressure fuel pumps to worry about, no sensitive peso injectors that cost a fortune to replace. The supercharger itself is known for being rock solid. The bottom end of the engine, tough enough to handle serious power increases without breaking a sweat. If you keep up with basic maintenance, oil changes, cooling system checks, and proper belt replacements, this engine will go the distance. And that's not just fanboy talk. There are E55 AMGs out there with well over 200,000 miles on the clock, still running strong, still putting down power like the day they left the factory. Now, to be fair, there are a few things to keep an eye on. The intercooler pumps can wear out over time, especially if the car's been driven hard in hot climates. And yes, the airmatic suspension, the air ride system, can get expensive if neglected. But here's the thing, these aren't flaws with the engine. They're typical Mercedes maintenance items, issues that show up on many models of the brand. The core of the car, the drivetrain, the motor, the transmission, remains one of the strongest setups AMG ever put on the road. It's not bulletproof because it's perfect. It's bulletproof because it was built right, and compared to the high-strung, complicated turbo setups you find in many modern performance cars, the E55 feels refreshingly old school, honest and tough. When the E55 AMG was brand new, it was a $70,000 to $90,000 luxury performance machine, a serious investment. But like many high-end German cars, it hit the used market hard. For years, you could find these cars selling for as low as $15,000 to $20,000, sometimes even less. A 500 horsepower supercharged V8 sedan, cheaper than a new Honda Civic. But here's the thing about cars like this. The bad ones disappear first. The neglected examples, the ones that were thrashed, poorly maintained, or modified without care, they've mostly been parted out or scrapped by now. What's left? The clean ones, the well-kept, well-documented examples. The cars that were owned by people who knew what they had. And those cars, they're no longer the bargain they once were. Today, a properly maintained E55 AMG with reasonable mileage and good history will easily fetch between $25,000 and $40,000. Depending on condition and options. Super clean, low mileage cars, they're climbing higher. Rare color combos, even more. The days of finding a cheap E55 are fading fast because enthusiasts know there's nothing else quite like it. No twin turbo substitute, no modern AMG with launch control. Nothing offers that same mix of raw supercharged punch, mechanical simplicity, and everyday usability. And as the newer AMGs get more complicated, the appreciation for the E55's brutal honesty keeps growing. It might still wear a business suit, but behind that tailored jacket, it's pure muscle. So what makes the E55 AMG so special? It wasn't built to chase lap records. It wasn't designed to impress magazine testers with Nürburgring times. It didn't need a giant wing, flared fenders, or wild styling to tell you it was fast, because it didn't have to say a word. The E55 let the numbers and the experience do the talking. It gave you 476 horsepower, over 700 Newton-meters of torque, and supercharged instant punch, wrapped in a sleek executive package that wouldn't raise any eyebrows at the valet stand. But underneath all that elegance, it was pure AMG muscle. A German-built heavyweight with the heart of a street fighter. Some people call it the original Hellcat, and honestly, they're not wrong. It captured the exact same spirit. Big engine, big power, big attitude, but with that signature AMG twist, refined, controlled, deadly accurate when it needed to be. And here's the thing. While the Hellcat came years later with even more outrageous horsepower, it also came with complexity, weight, and a certain expectation of chaos. The E55, it didn't need chaos. It was precise, confident, silent until it wasn't. The ultimate definition of a sleeper. It's the kind of car that could take your family to dinner on Friday night and leave a trail of smoked tires at the drag strip on Saturday. Simple, powerful, honest, no turbo tricks. No digital gimmicks, just old-school supercharged V8 thunder. And that's why the E55 AMG W211 isn't just remembered, it's respected, loved, feared, because long before the world knew about the Hellcat, Germany had already built one. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more automotive legends, forgotten beasts, and the stories behind the machines. And let us know down below, would you take the E55 over a modern Hellcat, or is American muscle still king? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.